Hey, what's going on? Could resist the part two, but I gotta make sure I explain this thoroughly. Now, again, we are not good, and it's important that we know we're not good because outside of God, we're set on our flesh. We are controlled by vanity. We are held captive by these things that have no power over life or death, things that pass away, things that do not identify truth. Knowing that we're not good will cause us to deny the deceptions of our wicked flesh and lean on God's wisdom and obeying his words to avoid the traps, to avoid the problems and the issues that come with being led and captive by lust and greed and all of these things. Again, Jeremiah 17:9. Curses the man that trusts in the man and uses flesh as his arm. See, we are too trusting of people that we know are susceptible to the same temptations and weaknesses we are. Instead of trusting the one who rises above the needs of the flesh and overcomes the things that hold us captive. See, biblical truth, it identifies the flesh as wicked. It gives us wisdom to show us where it leads. And it gives us a solution to trust in God according to his words, to identify the better path, the path that leans on the spirit and not the flesh, where all the good values and logic stems from. We must understand that God is the creator of logic. All logic is a reflection of his intelligent design of creation. He sets the order of why things do what they do. So to be logical is to obey his laws in nature. Just like we must obey his law in regard to our souls and how it exposes the nature of our flesh. See, once we see who we really are, unsubmitted to God, we will run to God to flee the corruption, to find wisdom, protection, and salvation. And we prove this every night. We go to bed praying and hoping that we'll wake up, knowing that we may not, and many will not. See, living for the things that the flesh lives for, it doesn't do anything towards life and death, outside of just bring you closer to death. It doesn't make sense to live your life on something that's also dying. Your flesh is fleeting, it's dying. Don't trust something that's dying. We must find true life, life eternal. We must understand that we are a living soul. It is our spirits that animate our flesh, our consciousness, our sense of justice, laws of logic are all immaterial, and these are based on the designs of God. They don't evolve, and they don't come from unintelligible reactions. It is the image of God. So, knowing this, we must see God as our structure, to see us for who we are and trust him more. You know, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. See, it's trusting in the Lord that causes you not to lean on your own understanding. We've all have enough evidence that our understanding is not good. How many things have we done based on our understanding that have failed? How many people have we chosen based on our understanding that proven to be bad or detrimental or chaotic, drama filled? You know, we must take control of what we know and let it reveal the need for God in our lives. You know, trusting in his word and seeing how the change in us causes a change in how we live and what we live for. You know, it begins with us. Jesus said, you must take the beam out of your eye to see clearly, to take the speck out of someone else's eye. And the only way we can get right with God is to acknowledge that we're not right with God, that we're in need of a higher standard of living, that we need to realign our mind and our hearts with his word to overcome the captive and the traps of our flesh. Another issue I'm going to bring up real fast is that people think Jesus Christ of the Bible wants us to be homeless, beaten, and defeated. But honestly, it's very far from the truth. In fact, we are already homeless, beaten, and defeated, rich, poor, and spiritually dead. And here's the evidence, because in this world, there's so little we can control when it comes to life and death and situations. And all of these things, your houses, your cars, your job, your wealth, can be taken away from you or can be rendered useless just by the touching of your flesh with an affliction or the ending of your life. See, again, living for things that perish, that fade away, that rust, that can be stolen. Living for your flesh, which is dying every day, is foolish. You know, the order of God proves that the things that are worth living for are eternal, and the things that are deceptive are passing away. When you die, your wealth will just be given to someone else. You know, Jesus didn't want you to necessarily say that you had to be poor. He just wanted you to understand that serving money more than him would lead you into a worse situation and ultimately into death. If you're not aware of how your flesh is being controlled by your lust for money and your love of money, well, that is very much detrimental. And you must be able to choose God over money. And so he's really just exposing the deceptions and the illusions that we live in. You know, this world is a great illusion. It's a spiritual battle. You know, people are really struggling with themselves. People are struggling with their own desires and their appetites. Money in itself is not bad, but the man who's controlled by money is wicked. You know, and same with lust. Lust is necessary in the proper design and circumstances that God has given us. But lust uncontrolled with a person that lacks self-discipline will lead him to disease, to drama, to have all his wealth and resources taken away because he dealt with a wicked woman, being that he is a wicked man. And see, we must also deal with that. Wicked people find wicked people. Spiritually wise people can see wicked people and avoid them. So again, we must understand why Jesus had to walk the true way, the way outside of the fake path where it's a bunch of showboating and it's a bunch of look and glamour. But he wanted the people to see a life unsubmitted by vanity, not controlled by money, by the world or anything about flesh. What that world looks like when you follow God purely, perfectly. As an example, so for us to hold a standard so we will always be honest to where we truly are in life. So when we see money taking too much of a hold on us, we can flee and get back to God. When we see that lust is taking too much of a hold on us, we can get back to God. But Jesus had to walk that perfect path for us to know what it looks like. Otherwise, we'll just make everything subjective and relative to what we feel and not what things are. I know this is difficult, but if he did not walk that path, we would think that, you know, things are right when actually they're wrong. And sometimes it's good to know when you're wrong because you don't always want to have to go through a terrible situation to realize a bad situation. Like I said, prevention is the best way. And Jesus had to show us the deceptions that come with all the things that we hold in such high esteem. He's saying, look, those things are controlling you because they're controlling your flesh. He's telling us to walk in the Spirit. He's giving us the imprint of his image in our hearts and our minds. And it's confirmed by his word. He just wants us to trust God and not ourselves. And then we will see properly how to use money, how to navigate in lust, how to avoid lies and deceptions. So a lot of people are walking into their own destruction because they're trusting themselves instead of God. So I'm just going to leave it there. Peace out.